All right, good morning. So I was led this morning. I just woke up and was thinking about the relationship with self, know yourself. So I guess this would be episode 2. And, you know, my healing process. Um, to start with the good, the end of my father's physical life here was an incredible blessing for me. My father and I were best friends. But there was a time where I was extremely angry with him because he wasn't around. So what that did to me is it placed a wound of abandonment, in my life. And you know, even when we reconnected, um, I shouldn't say even although we reconnected, or we had reconnected, I should say, in my 20s, in the end, God gave me, you know, a setup that was so amazing. Um, we talked every day, but he put my father back in the court, and myself. We both moved back to the court where I was a little girl growing up, wishing and longing for my father to be, in the home, with me. We lived around his family, so holidays and all of that. Of course, I would see him, but I wanted my daddy home. And in the end, he lived right across the street from me. I lived in my nanny's house, and he lived in a rental across the street. And it was amazingly beautiful. He'd walk me home. We'd, stay up late at night and talk or watch movies and that sort of thing. And then he'd walk me to my doorstep. It was, and then when he couldn't walk me to my doorstep, and he could, I just wouldn't let him. He'd walk me halfway, and then I'd run to the door. Good night, Daddy. I mean, that's how great and how amazing God is. But but I did, as a child, I had the 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 issue of abandonment, and for my thing, it was very deep, and I wouldn't really discover that until you know as an adult. I understood in talking to my father how deep the feeling that I was having, being disconnected from him, was. And that was because, we're energy. And it was a prayer, an inspiration, an energy for me to come and help him and support him in his marriage, as he was devastated that he was losing his love, his greatest love, besides God, and his family. So he was calling out, for some support, and here I came. That's an energy. That's a real connection. I'm coming um, with that inspiration, or connected to that inspiration to come, that motivation to come, um, and see. The physical of this world won't let us, connect to that thing, but that's real, and that's how painful, and why it was so painful, not having him around. Of course, with knowledge and understanding that we were never disconnected, but the little girl in me felt that I had been abandoned, and and so, and then in terms of healing and the process of healing, which I did healing from that, because what happened was there's that little wound, but then you get into to relationships, and you get that feeling of that thing, and that little wound that started as a little girl, feeling, daddy wasn't there, abandoned, he left me. It opens up, and so it was my responsibility, and how I overcame that thing was, and still always working with that thing, because it's the little girl drama and trauma, right? And I mean, you hear some stories that are so great and amazing, the overcoming of these things. It's like, I feel like I just had a little nick. Um, but what I understood was that, in terms of writing about it, talking about it, working with groups, um, fasting and looking at myself, was I've always felt, or where the trouble came for me in relationships, not just men and women. It could be, even with my own child, or, with work, or friends, or whatever, is when I was felt unprotected, and because that's my thing. That's why I got angry with my father. It wasn't just that he was absent. It was when I got into trouble, or when I was afraid, or anything that, because daddy's supposed to be there to protect, right? He wasn't there to protect. So, and I guess, my mama was provider, and so I never felt like I was without, but I did feel unprotected. So what was that thing that I was lacking, with his absence? Because of his absence, I was lacking the protection, and or without the protection. And so even to this day, I get the triggers, and I gotta say, okay, what is that thing that's going on right there? I always find that that's what it is. And then people that are close to me, they'll tell you it's I'm very extremely loyal, and I'm also very protective. So, because I'm gonna give you the protection that I need, and for them it's real cool, but I have to balance that thing out, because I understand that that's my thing. And what is all of this about? It's really to, be happy, to be free. You do that work not just because, you do it so that, because we're lights of the world. When God says, when I talk about the twinkle twinkle little star and diamonds, and all of that, that's why it's so important for us to do the work. It's so important for us to do the work. I mean, he's given me a joy that's unspeakable. It truly is. It really is. I love laughter. It's I feel it all in here. I'm truly happy. It's not the fake and phony, and look, I got a whole lot going on. Um, but because I dig and treat and nurse, and, look at, um, the troubles within, and so what's going to happen is, and I'm going to tell you this because I get this a lot. When you do that, people are going to tell you, or they're going to, you know what, just stay in. It's just, that's what I can tell you, just stay in, because you'll get a whole lot of outside nonsense as well, and they don't mean no harm. It's just, it's part of the journey. Just stay in. But I woke up with that thing, and I said, you know what? Let me go to the park, because I'm having these little feelings, and turn on this video, and have a conversation, about the healing process, and knowing myself, and my little triggers and that sort of thing. Um, but understand this, that when you do the work, you'll find yourself in magical places, magical places. And I can't tell you, there were times where, for one reason or another, I felt very, unprotected, and very angry that my daddy wasn't around. And I mean, God, he set it up so smooth. He set it up so smooth. And I moved actually from a great, location. My daddy did as well. And, we came back to the neighborhood. But it was a beautiful, beautiful process along my journey. Completely beautiful. We weren't right there in the same house. It was even better. Not to get on one another's nerves. When it was time to go, we could go. But yeah, so, and that was the other thing that God did for me in terms of abandonment. He allowed me to even look in terms of the healing process. What I should say, what the healing process, me looking at that thing, looking at that wound, nursing that wound, that even my father's journey opened up to me. That, he did the things that he did. And, it's true what they say, your parents can only give you, what they know, or give you, their best. And because he had some issues with abandonment, so yeah, I got to see even his little boy. And so I got to bless his little boy soul too, because I understood. So yeah, go through the process. And I thought today, this morning also, I said, I don't know that anybody will ever see this. It may come way down the line, because we got a whole lot of babies. This is what they do, and it'll be a place where um, they get the understanding and the knowledge. They won't get it like we used to get it with Big Mamas, sitting there. For me, it was in her kitchen, or by her bedside, or in her garden, wherever I could find her, and her sharing the wisdom. But so it may be that. I don't know. God only knows. But yes, indeed, it's about full freedom. Full freedom. All right. Be well. Be loved. Peace.